Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'm sure many of you stayed up late last night tracking your favorite election or something like that. We're glad to have you for the Q4 version of our vendor town hall meeting. My name is Scott Scroggin, and I have the opportunity to serve as the president of HTG Peer Groups. I'm going to be joined on stage today from the HTG side by Arlen Sorensen and Ken Shetler, our Director of Strategic Relationships. How many people in here were able to attend the HTG All meeting that just preceded this? Oh, man, there went my good jokes. Oh, I heard that. Well, we're going to move right along because we've got some, I'm going to kick things off here as we look at my role, which is really to talk about the 2012 member performance. Then I'll step away and we'll have the sponsor program overview, some logistics about the event to make sure everybody has their questions answered, and we're going to have a sponsor panel that Arlen's going to lead, so a good mix of activities for you. And we'll take questions as well throughout and leave plenty of time at the end to wrap up. So for those of you that attended the the HTG All presentation, these slides will be similar. If there are any differences, please let me know. As something is really wrong. So what we talked about with the members this morning was really a path that involved looking back to the beginning of HTG, which was really in the year 2000 after Y2K. And Arlen spent time looking at our first three groups to evaluate, really, do peer groups matter? More specifically, does HTG matter? You're sponsoring, you're meeting people, but at the end of the day, does it really matter to be in a peer group? And really found some compelling information. We can share that deck with you to take a look at as well. We then moved into kind of our success stories for 2012, a new framework model we're working on in 2013, which involves organizational health. Many of you are familiar with Pat Lencioni's work in a variety of different areas, but his new book, The Advantage, is a book that we'll be giving to all of our members tonight at the Partner Pavilion as an incentive for them to attend the Partner Pavilion. And then beyond that, we looked into 2013 and really the call to action we had. I'm summarizing that here in about 8 slides. One of the things we want you to know is that we scorecard our members at the individual, group, and overall HTG level. Now, most of you have participated in the scorecarding when it comes to your lunch and learns, and we're doing that again this year. So 2 types of scorecards. We compile those results from the lunch and learns and give them back to you. We also roll them up into an aggregated report that we share with you. And we've done this now for, I think this will be the 6th HTG All type meeting that we've done that for. But I wanted to give you some insight into the member scorecard, which when we look at this today, you'll notice a list of 13 different metrics that we score. And we do this to track HTG's baseline metrics. These are the blocking and tackling. This is not, is your EBITDA percentage high enough or in the best in class? Service leadership does that for us, okay? Paul Dippel's group and the work they do. But what we want to make the point here is we're using this data to make better decisions going forward, just like we use the feedback from the sponsor scorecards to make decisions as to how to coach and shape the value add from the lunch and learns, and really that knowledge extrapolates across other deliverables that we work on. But just as a quick example, you can see here in our planning, you know HTG has our 4 plans. Many of you are sitting around where there's still some of the handouts left over from this morning, and you picked one up. You heard me talk about the 4 plans and the workbook we're creating. We have 3 of them listed here, and you can see the percentage of people that, according to our facilitators, say that their members have their plans complete, at least for the first 3. Now, our plans are on a quarterly cycle, so the next area of the legacy plans, business and personal, not quite as high a number, but this is the meeting that they review those plans. So this is the meeting that we expect them to increase in their score. At the other side of the spectrum, we do something in our meetings called an investment rating. And we can all relate to investment ratings, right? Given the current challenges in the stock market, haven't seen if it's up today, up or down today. That'd kind of be an interesting, I'm sure you can, anybody have a smartphone? Tell me that, but that's where we ask the members to say, if I was investing in this company, would it be a buy, a sell, or a hold? Okay? We also see that we have our goal setting. You know that we set 3 goals in the meeting. So we are tracking this. Now, this is a relatively new tool. We're working out some of the kinks, but based on this analysis, we're able to make decisions about where to place our bets in terms of improving our program and our members. Along those lines, we've created the HTG 4 Plans workbook, and planning is key to HTG. Many of you, I'm getting a high sign in the back. Down 200, all right. I won't touch that. From the planning side, all of our members go through a 4-plan process, but in the past we gave them templates, we might have given them some coaching, we might have come in and present to the group. Now we have a 130-page workbook guide that takes them through the planning journey literally day by day. Do this on day 1, do this on day 2, and it adds up to a grand total of completed plans. They'll get their workbook when they renew for 2013. Another area that certainly relates to our goal of going deeper into the organization. We can talk to owners and principals and CEOs all day long, and that's important. Those are the ones targeted by our peer groups. But there are a lot of other people in the organization that make things happen, and in many cases, they're the ones that determine the implementation and the success of your products and services. You know, a lot of CEOs are a long way away from knowing what technology works and how, or knowing the best way to develop a process or a procedure for actually putting it into the field. So what we did is to create these 5 events and programs. Our Sales and Service Management Summit, that's a day-and-a-half summit, face-to-face with only service managers, only sales managers. We started at this meeting 2 Sales and Service Management Special Interest Groups, or SIGs, as an opportunity, again, to create community around those roles that we haven't done before. Before, it might have been the owner come to the meeting, and then they have to go back home in the office and explain what the group said to them. Now we have an opportunity for the next tier of managers, of leaders in the organization to experience HTG itself. We created an HTG Online Managers track. So we brought back HTG Online that we'd run 4 or 5 years ago. We had 130 companies in HTG Online years ago. We discontinued the program based on available resources and focused it on the face-to-face peer groups. Now we've brought that back. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but we've created 2 tracks. One track for the company that's no longer or not in HTG. Maybe it's a smaller business, doesn't meet the requirements of HTG. The second track is for the manager in an HTG organization, not the CEO, not the owner, not the principal, because they're going to their meeting. But they have people that they need to grow on their bench that they can put into a virtual group meeting, not have to travel, not have to take all the time of a traditional group, and we're growing that rapidly. We're also growing our webcast opportunity. We've webcast these events to over 50 people that have purchased. These aren't giveaway webcasts. These are people stepping up and buying the webcast. Whether it's Australia, the UK, or around the country, it's just a better fit. I mentioned the leadership track. Some of you, Lisa's in the room, most involved here would be Cisco as a sponsor of the 2012 HTG leadership track. We are, again, focused on educating and creating leaders, broadening both business and personal skill sets, understanding, experiences. We brought in gazelles. As I mentioned, Lisa brought in 4 great speakers for the 4 different events that we had. We organized the group into perform SWATs, and we are starting that in January of Q1 with the next version, the 2013 version of the leadership track. One area we get questions about is, what about international? It's kind of like, what is your foreign policy? Well, we have a strong foreign policy, a very strong foreign policy, both in the UK and in Australia, New Zealand. More so in Australia, New Zealand, from the standpoint of hunger for learning, hunger for growth, commitment of leaders, desire to grow. And we currently have 3 face-to-face groups in Australia. We have 2 of the online groups in Australia. We expect that to only continue to grow. We conducted a Gazelles Leadership Forum in Sydney this year, and of all of our members across the country, we had 80% of them travel to attend that event. So we also have a unique situation on the peer group side. In the US, it's very rare to have 2 members from the same city. Very territorial, right? Very competitive. In Australia, it's not uncommon at all to have 2 or 3 members from the same city. So very open and willing to grow. Tied to that relates to us having our first centralized meeting, and I'm going to talk to you about that in just a minute because we think this is a win opportunity, clearly for HTG and for our sponsors. By centralized, I mean more than one group meeting at one place at the same time. So instead of members, facilitators, sponsors traveling around to attend a meeting of 15 people in one location, how about bringing 60, 70, 80 of them together in one location and having a larger event? Not 600 people like we have here, but some point in between. They're clearly earning the opportunity for that growth. I touched on HTG Online before as bringing that face-to-face experience online, both for owners and for managers. Right now, in less than 6 months of ramp-up, we have 7 groups, 66 companies participating, those being both inside HTG with the manager's track and outside HTG with the owner's track. It really works in what we call a learn, do, share rhythm, where there's something to learn at the start of the month. We move that into a doing activity, complete a template, have a conversation, gather some information, and then move to the actual meeting, a 60 to 90-minute online meeting that happens monthly, and that repetition goes through a series of topics over the course of the year. And we'll have a booth at the event tonight to talk more about that. So I know that a lot of times you're interested in our metrics. I made the offer in Dallas. I'll make it again. If you'd like to visit with me about more detailed information on these metrics, I'm glad to do just that. But here is kind of a roll-up briefly about the total number of employees in HTG collectively. So all of our companies, 4,400 employees, and that is up. We're on a positive trend from a job creation growth. And to that, we are proud to say that we're proud. We talk about our average employees per member. Do the math on employees divided by company. We're at 17.5. Our total revenue by quarter here, $801 million. So you annualize that, by quarter 200, you annualize that to $800 million organization in revenue. That as well is growing. If you talk about member size, in the most recent reporting quarter, which was as recently as Q3, $800,000 per quarter or $3.2 million per year would be the average size. That's not median, that's average. And the revenue split, 57% of the revenue comes from services now, a trend which continues to grow. So some other things that you may want to know, for those of you that are big fans of tracking EBITDA, a metric we use is EBITDA per employee. So it's one thing to say that I made $100,000 and you made $100,000, but I did it with 20 people and you did it with 40. Who's in a better scenario here, right? So there's a metric we look at. We also look at aggregate EBITDA. If we looked at HTG as a total company, we put 11.2% to the bottom line. Something that I know our sponsors are interested in, we talked about it in Dallas, is the breakpoint between, we use $3 million. You heard that $3.2 million figure earlier, but thinking of $3 million, what percentage of our members are smaller than that? What percentage of our members are larger than that? And the number right now is 31% of our members are larger than $3 million in revenue per year. So it's back to that's why it's not 50-50, because that's not a median as opposed to an average. If you're speaking to these groups or interacting with them, you should know that our top gross margin groups were HTG 14, 16, and 10. Our top, the term is adjusted EBITDA. That's why the A is before the EBITDA groups, are 25, 8, and 17. And all that means is service leadership applies a factor to try to standardize owners' compensation in a way to report evenly, right? You have some owners that might take a $100,000 salary and others that might take a $30,000 salary but a $70,000 distribution off the balance sheet. They're still getting 100, so they take that out. They discount that, equalize it across the board so we can have an even way of reporting that. So, in terms of things we're doing next year, we're extending the leadership track. We're starting a new program called the Vision Summit. And then we are expanding as well our service and sales management summits. So you'll notice as an example on the leadership track, next year's focus is organizational health. The webcasting is now included so people back at the office can watch that. It runs 3 quarters instead of 4. It starts in January, and we'll be having a number of new activities involved there. The Vision Summit is a bringback of 2 years ago when we had what were called CEO forums. We have a lot of people that really want to focus on CEO-related topics when many of the meetings get more tactical. You can see here that we'll be doing that. It's going to take on more of a, if you're familiar with TED.org, the presentations on TED on a wide variety of topics, so it's going to be more members presenting their ideas to members rather than simply speakers at the front of the room speaking on CEO topics. So we're looking forward to that. That will be in Q3. You notice how that fits right in there with the leadership track, no meeting in Q3. That's in August. It's also going to link up with our centralized meeting, a second time I've used that term, and we'll come back to it here shortly. And the Sales and Service Management Summits. Notice they all include webcasting. So for the investment people are making to travel, they also get the opportunity to leverage that investment back in the office. So I mentioned centralized meetings, and I know there are people in here that you go to more meetings than you wish you went to meetings and conferences and other sorts of trips. HTG in Q1 of this year put on 25 meetings around the world, and for the most part, you were there. HTG put on 25 more meetings in Q3, and for the most part, you were there. HTG is putting on 25 more meetings in Q1 2013, and for the most part, you'll be there. You get the rhythm here? And the next meeting. It all adds up to 25 groups with 50 Q1 and Q3 meetings is meeting madness. You don't even get applause from that. You guys must really love to travel. So the applause really would be more around our move to more of a centralized meeting format. And by doing so, we want to take 4 to 6 groups and have them meet at one location. Not 600, not 15 people, but what will more likely be 60 to 100 people. When we do that, we gain economies of scale in planning. We gain you the opportunity to come in and see more people than the 15 that you might see on that one trip. We can bring subject matter experts, we can do breakouts, we can do a lot of different things that we could not do when we're sending people all around the world to 15 to 20 person meetings. The other thing we're doing is transitioning to staff facilitation. Some of you have had fabulous experiences with our member facilitators. Others of you may have struggled to reach somebody because guess what? They have a day job. Our facilitators have been amazing for what we've been able to work with them to accomplish. Arlen and I are in a peer group with other companies that run peer groups in other industries. The CPAs, the eye doctors, the dentists, the automotive service managers, the landscapers, the remodelers, etc. We're the only company, only peer group organization in that peer group that uses member facilitators. So we are moving away from that based on feedback we've received, the workload, the need to have consistency, right? We're trying to build a program with processes that drive consistent change and improvement. And when you have what amounts to 25 part-time employees with their own variable ways of doing things, it's very difficult to do. So that's a move that we are making. We're utilizing the HLG, the Heartland Leadership Group team, to do that. We have 3 today, we'll have 6 next meeting, and we'll continue that march forward throughout 2013 and 2014. And a key factor there is our ability to deliver content, not just run a meeting, not just know when to write on the flip chart and go to lunch, but we're talking about relative subject matter expertise in the room that can help the group get over challenges that the group cannot solve themselves. That's a value add to us and to our members. With that, Arlen, Ken, I'm going to turn things over to you. Ken, I'm going to ask real quickly, any questions on what I just covered? We'll have more time at the end. John, are we still down 200 points? It's my influence, isn't it?
Thanks a lot. And some of the most exciting things that you and I work on together are centralized meetings and how much more efficient that's going to make our time as we plan and try to get people in the same location. Easier fly-in cities, just a lot of great things about that. So I'm just going to talk briefly about the 2013 sponsor program. I'll be around. I've got time for meetings. I want to talk to you individually if you have questions, but definitely just call out, raise your hands if, as we're going through this, you've got questions. As we start this process every year, paramount in my mind is ROI for you. Not just soft ROI, but how do you measure that? It's a little bit of a dance as we work together and get the buy-in from the members in all this. But in the program, we've got similar things that we've had in the past. Definitely the foundational outreach. I'm sorry, Rebecca Gilley is handing out the brochures for you to look at like this, so it'll be a lot more informative. The foundational outreach is there, the lunch and learns, the things we have been doing, seat at the table, the things you've come to see as high value. Now, what we have added are some communication options, including some direct email to the members, different things like that you haven't seen before. The HTG sponsor zone is a big part of that. And the open rate is good. There's always room for improvement. And along with that, we've got we're going to enhance that with some video testimonials from our sponsors that we can embed in that and just keep moving the bar there. Educationally, the feedback has been good for the IT Channel Summit. Probably one of the most positive things I see with that is that we have similar companies coming the last 2 years, but almost a completely different group of individuals. So we are, there is value there as well. There's 3 sponsorships levels in our standard program. We have not changed the pricing this year. We did last year and it was a big jump, and we know that was a major move. We don't expect to, we expect that to be at that level for a period of time now. So the platinum, gold, silver levels that you've seen, some additional opportunities that you'll be able to be involved in because of the centralized meetings will be the Service Managers Summit and some of these other activities that we've got going on outside of the primary meetings. As we've said 2 or 3 times, Cisco really stepped up and made the leadership track possible this year. So I believe it was good for them. Ask Lisa about it and get her opinion as well. Ted, you look like you have a question. No? All right. And as I said earlier, media is going to continue. The video, we believe, is definitely a faster touch for to get you noticed with our membership. They're much more apt to watch a 1.5-minute video than read 2 paragraphs. The renewal process, as in the past, those that have been on board with us, those that brought us to the dance, we're going to keep dancing with. We appreciate that. Our long-term sponsors, they will have preferred status as we move forward in this. Early responses, many of you have already contacted me, and so the program is filling rapidly for 2013 already. Continued emphasis on quality and not quantity. We do not want to dilute the overall value with too many sponsors in the room, frankly. We want to make sure that your investment in us with the number of partners we have is a good balance. If that's not there, then we're just somebody else. The electronic contract will come to you on November 16th. I do have some paper contracts, but everyone here will receive that, plus your primary coordinators at your companies. So anything I can answer, I went through that quickly. A big focus is to make this a lot more about you, and you'll see in this next segment we have, as you get interaction directly from your peers in the sponsor panel. So anybody? Ted? 15 now.
How many vendor sponsors are there?
That's the soft goal. I hemmed ourselves in last year based on our budgetary needs. So that is what we may have. We may have 20 platinum and 5 less gold and not as many silver. So we are mixing it up. The gross will be the same, but I'm not going to commit this year to the hard number. But it definitely is paramount. Along with that, the mix of the sponsors we have. What percentage do we have in each sector that they primarily work with? While we're working on logistics, I'm going to have the sponsor panel come up. Maritza, Eric, Joe, and Scott, excuse me. Come on up here and grab a seat. We'll have a mic for you. Logistics, just real quickly, you already know who you're talking to. And keep the conversations on that level. The big thing today, the Partner Pavilion 1:30 to 5:30 is set up. Those of you that are buying, that are giving away door prizes, we encourage that. I encourage you to get their cell phone numbers so you can text them directly. It's an additional touch point. The drink tickets we'll have at your booth 30 minutes before the start with your buttons and everything. You don't have to come to the office to get those or anything like that. So we'll have that all there for you. Again, ConnectWise somehow makes this happen. So those of you that are overlap between HTG and exhibiting at IT Nation, there will be a GES form you're given. And correct me if I'm wrong, what I understand it's a GES form. When you break your booth down, you just fill out the form. It doesn't have to be ship ready, taped up. Put it in your space with your new space number. Boom, that's where it appears. Thank you for making that happen. Yeah, I don't mean taped up. I have got a couple questions, Janine, while we're talking about that. On the IT Nation side, is that security, after the pavilion's over, it's secure, you've got security there? Okay, that's what I've been telling people. That was my past experience. So tomorrow, much the same schedule as today. I will say this, those of you doing a lunch and learn, please knock on the door right at 11, or maybe even 5 or 10 to 11 if you're doing a seat at the table. And all of you that have a lunch and learn, do that. The groups get caught up in what they're doing. They don't mean to ignore you. So knock on the door, let them know they're there. Everybody has my cell phone number. So text me if there are any needs at all to do with that. And we officially close tomorrow evening at 5, and IT Nation starts up. So with that, I really appreciate the sponsors that have agreed to do this. They're all rock stars in their own way. They've done really cool things that are out of the box and have really good ROI and some interesting numbers. So Arlen?
Did I understand you right, Ken, that Janine would transfer the stuff from...
That's what I heard. She's, yeah.
Go ahead and have Aaron help you, but I appreciate your support there. So, my mic on? Okay. So for the next few minutes, what we wanted to do was have a conversation with 4 of our current sponsors that are all doing some things really right. So we want to kind of do a little best practice HTG style sharing and have each of them share around a particular area that we hope will benefit you. I'm going to start with Maritza from Eaton. You guys particularly are creative in the way that you interact. So in the Lunch and Learns, you make it very lighthearted, fun. You do a lot of preparation in terms of you got your Jeopardy game that you do. You sponsor the Welcome Center, so when people get here at registration, they can go spend time, get refreshed, and have a conversation. Yesterday, you were a sponsor of our spouse track. We did a wine and cheese thing at the end, which the ladies really appreciated. So let's talk, Maritza, about how you approach the relationship with HTG, you know, and how you wake up in the morning trying to figure out what the next cool thing is.
Well, that's a,
Just talk, keep talking, it's there.
Okay, that definitely is a mouthful, Arlen, but I'll definitely do my best. So this is our second year, our second full year as a sponsor within HTG. And I had an opportunity to know Scott and Arlen prior to coming on board as a vendor sponsor. And one of the things that we're focused as Eaton, and every vendor has different objectives, right? In our space, we're not the market leader in our space. So one of the big things that we have to overcome always is a branding. So one of the things that we do is really try to engage more from a branding perspective initially. And our first goal, the first year that we were at HTG, we weren't really looking for revenue. We were really looking for the right partners to recruit into our program. So we focused completely on recruitment at HTG for the first year. And I'll tell you, about 60% of the HTG members are currently in my partner program. And so I've moved away from recruitment in year 2 because I figured, you know, if I don't have them on board the first year, we're not a good fit, right? And so what we've done the second year is, and Brian, he's in the back of the room, within my own company, we actually have leaders and ambassadors of HTG within our company. So we are continually talking to our area sales managers, our inside sales reps, who is HTG, what do they mean to us, what's the importance? And we actually have one person dedicated to support the HTG members, and they really like that continual relationship. And we come to the events over and over. It's the same people. We don't switch out. I would say those are 2 key things. And then the second year, we focused on revenue, getting them enabled into our partner program, doing education and trainings. And year over year, 300+% growth in revenue with HTG members. So we're definitely very happy with the overall success that we've had in the program. And what Arlen was talking about is when we do our Lunch and Learns, we don't kill them by PowerPoint. We only spend maybe 20 minutes on a PowerPoint presentation. And what we do is we do a Jeopardy game. And we divide the group into 2 teams, and they get really engaged. And the Jeopardy is questions about, today it'll be about football, because that's our theme. Last night we took them out to dinner. We were listening, and basically we have questions about the HTG members part of our Jeopardy game today. So we really get them engaged in all the activities.
So I think that's a really good tip. you know, they use the lunch and learn to set up what they're going to talk about the next day. Every presentation that I've been able to watch is very tailored to the people in the room. It's not a standard set of questions that they ask. It's all very tailored based on what they've learned about the members from doing a little bit of homework and preparing for that event as a separate thing. So you said a little bit about metrics. Any other metrics you can share, things you've learned in terms of driving interest in being in your program, or things you've done specifically to help partners drive revenue?
Yeah, so we heavily encourage the use of marketing development funds within our partner program. And that's one of the things that we have quite a few, and I know that's an important metric that Arlen looks at as well. He wants the members to engage and partner with the vendors. So we actually do a lot of programs throughout the year for the members, and we give them marketing development funds so we can actually do activities together. Anywhere from a lunch and learn training to a drip campaign. So I would say getting them, encouraging them to use marketing and to help them develop their sales, I would say that's our #1 objective with them as well too.
Thanks, Maritza, appreciate that. I'm going to balance this out and go to this side of the room. So Scott Barlow with Reflection. Scott has really been a shining star in terms of developing relationships one-on-one. I've had the privilege of being with you in the UK a couple of times. Scott's really focused on being able to penetrate internationally. Talk to us about your strategy for how you're engaging with groups and with members in particular and building those relationships.
Yeah, like Maritza, we've been doing HTG for about 3 years, and you know, we started off at gold and then we dropped down to silver just from a budgetary standpoint. And we've transitioned really from, you know, selling the solution providers and selling the HTG members to really just building the relationships and working on educating the HTG members. It's been, you know, we were talking about some statistics earlier. We have a variety of different metrics that we analyze, and one of them is the average revenue per partner. And the HTG members compared to the average revenue per partner for our entire channel is 65% higher. And then we talked about the HTG UK group, and I was over in London with Janine I think 3 years ago, and then Dublin last year, and then Scotland this year. And HTG is all about going deeper within an organization, within a solution provider. And I looked at the metrics on the UK HTG member compared to HTG in general, and even that number was 35% higher than the HTG member in general. So, you know, going deeper into an organization, building the relationship, educating them, I think it's probably the most important thing that anybody here can do. We don't do a lot of the lunch and learns at this point because a lot of the HTG members that we have on board are acquiring a lot of other companies. And as a result, we have the relationship, and it's a true partnership. And instead of going with the solution that the acquired company has, they stick with the solution that they have internally. So, you know, I think it's important. I think the #1 thing that any vendor can do as part of HTG is just build the relationships and build the goodwill.
Yeah, I think that's the best practice that we really want to highlight is we are a very relationally focused organization, and having the same people come every time is important. Going deep in relationship, you've had to learn a little bit about soccer to be able to talk to those guys over there, but really getting in their world, creating ongoing ways to stay connected is an important part. And part of that is really about doing the homework. Joe with Freedom Voice has been, their company's been a shining star in terms of being ready to go in and engage in the rooms. And you shared with me earlier that you kind of look at it as like a job interview, basically. You come prepared with knowledge on the people that you're going to be speaking with. You've got a strategy and a plan about that. So talk a little bit about how you prepare and what that interaction looks like, Joe.
Well, one of the things we did was we look at it as we do the lunch and learns, and that's basically we're interviewing for a job. We're asking you to become partners with us, but you would never go into a job interview without researching, going to a company's website you're going to interview with. You'd like to find out all the contact people, things of that nature. So what we did was The first year we kind of fuddled through this in like 2010, and we were finding our way, but we have one point person in our company that when they know there's an HTG event, they're on it. That's their whole purpose. We call every one of first we start with the facilitator. We find out what makes their group tick, what are they composed of, how much money, what's their revenue streams, things of that nature. Then we prepare a PowerPoint slide for each one of those dealers. We go in, we go to their websites, we find out everything we can. We follow up with an email campaign to every one of the members that are in the Lunch and Learn, as well as something we kind of do is we found the best thing to do is referrals from within the HTG group. So we always try and get at least 3 referrals, and in most of our Lunch and Learns, one of our the HTG dealers that is one of our dealers will come and speak to the group. We take 15 minutes of their time, and we found that to be the most compelling. You know, they're tired of hearing rhetoric from a company trying to sell them something. How about one of our own group? And they talk about how do we make money with this? How easy it was to implement that into their business. So we look at all the applications, we look at the companies, we make slides of every single company, and then we've even done things as a week before, we'll send out 3 videotape interviews from HTG members. Hey guys, you're about ready to meet with this great group called Freedom Voice. We've taken on their product 2 months ago. It was easy. We're making money. We love it. And it just seems that connects more so than keeping a nice short 10 PowerPoint slide, going through it and taking 20 minutes at a time. But that is has the most impact.
So members talking to members is really a best practice that definitely works. That's where we see the greatest impact within a Lunch and Learn or other interaction is when you have a member telling your story on your behalf.
Right, and talking a little bit about metrics, you know, we signed up a bunch of dealers in 2010, and we had some sales, and then in 2011, we signed up a little bit more, and we had a growth path. But in 2012, when we started implementing this, because we started in January of 2012, this whole process of investigating and preparing, in 2012, we signed up twice as many dealers as we did in all 2010 and 11 combined. And we doubled the business as far as the revenue part of it. So it's kind of like bowling, you get the spares and the strikes will come. So we've been going on that hockey stick path, and we look for 2013 to just break all the records for us because of, actually we listened to what HTG and Ken told us to do. We kind of figured, you know, we knew what we wanted to do, and Ken came to us and said, you're doing it wrong. So when we finally listened to what Ken was saying, and we took our marketing people and worked with Ken, it just made it like somebody turned on the light switch.
Thanks, Joe. So I'll throw Ken out there as a resource for you. We want to be an extension of what you're trying to accomplish. Ken does have great insight into the things that work. He gets to watch 25 Lunch and Learns a quarter. And as Scott often says, we have more statistics on what people like about Lunch and Learns than any other organization in the world. With all of the surveying we do every quarter, we got a lot of data. Ken has access to that. He can help you understand what works, what doesn't work, and coach you, give you some guidelines. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask about what others are doing that really work. Eric, Intel has been a sponsor for a long time, and you've kind of taken the holistic approach to your engagement with HTG. I mean, not only, you know, working with the groups, but you've gotten involved in the vendor peer group. You've kind of made it your passion to understand the DNA of HTG. Talk a little bit about your strategy around that and what kind of impact it's led to.
Yeah, so I think everyone comes to the event because you got the vendor fair. It's great. You can meet people. You come to presentations, but I think you guys are growing a lot. You saw in the presentation about more events to do the Leadership Summit, and now this Vision Summit I think is great. A lot of the members, they gain its relationship, but they also have something called trust. So the more that they see you, not just at the vendor showcase or not just at Lunch and Learn, that's how you're going to grow your relationship with them. So for us, we've really tried to say, where can we actually go and meet certain folks? And I think the DNA of HTG is very direct, right? If you go in and give your presentation, you're pitching something, they know you're pitching something, and they're just going to shut you down, right? And there may be someone that, you know, I've had Lunch and Learn presentations for people that really didn't take my message too well the first time. And I went back to them the second and third time, and then all of a sudden, I was out at the farm at something, we were sitting across having an ice cream talk, and all of a sudden he's like, yeah, well, let's, wait, you know, I'm sorry I was mean a couple times, but let's talk about this. And so that's one thing I really encourage you guys is that when you meet with some of the members, sometimes they're not selling your gear, or they're not really interested in what you have to say that day. But HTG is not just about one event. It's just not one presentation. It's a longer-term thing, and I think if you're here to be here just for this, one event, it's probably not the right thing for you. If you're here for 6 months, it's still probably not the right thing for you. If you're for longer term, and I can tell you, I was last night at our dinner, I had a guy next to me, and I said, really, why are you part of HTG? And he said, hands down, I am 5x more profitable than I was when I started here. And if you know any of your resellers out there, right, they're more profitable, that means they're probably going to be selling more of your product and adopting it. And so we just try and make sure we not just look at, the summits. We don't look as far as just at Lunch and Learns. We don't look at just one piece. We're looking at all of it, even on the online piece. So,
talk about the experience in the vendor peer group, okay? That's kind of a unique opportunity for our partners that are sponsors. How's that changed the way you perceive and understand HTG? What kind of advice would you have for folks that might be interested in possibly doing that?
Yeah, so if you want to really, grow as, once again, not just from business perspective, a personal perspective, vendor peer group is great. Ted does a great job leading our group. We've got a lot of great personalities in our group. You will live HTG more when you get in a peer group. So the vendor peer group, everything from, just best practices we do, you'll learn about great new marketing things that you never even knew about, like LinkedIn emails or about buzz cards. We've got all different things that you didn't even realize you could do that's helping you save money in marketing, and just new ideas. I come back every quarter and I come to our staff, I got this new idea, and wasn't mine, it was something we got from best practice. So being able to every quarter get marketing is great, and then also when you come into a peer group, that personal side of it. So if someone's trying to lose weight in the group, you're going to be able to help someone with that. Or if someone's having some relationship issues, you're going to be able to help them with that. And you get that in return. So I really, if you've never been a part of a peer group, it's a phenomenal thing. And the difference with HTG, it's going to be on the business side and on the personal side. So.
And you've gotten to do the 4 plans that we talk about all the time. What's that experience been like for you?
I would say there's not a lot of life-changing things, I don't say it, but when you have to sit there and write the plans, I think everyone in our vendor peer group would say this, it's sometimes hard, because when you have to sit there and write a legacy plan, like they're in this quarter, and you have to say, okay, when I leave this place, what do people want me to be known for? It's not an easy thing sometimes. But then also, when you have to go through and write your leadership plan, when you and your company, right, depending on where you're at, you're a leader. And so we have to sit there and physically think about saying, okay, what's the 5 things I'm going to get done this year? And then to write that out, all of a sudden, when you get those plans done, you go back to your company, you'll be more organized than 90% of the people in your group. And they'll actually go well, how do you already have that finished? We haven't even talked about that yet. So it's made it progressed a lot as far as in both areas, personal and professional.
Great, thank you. Any metrics that you've been tracking?
Yeah, so one thing I'd recommend everyone is that definitely use Ken. I think he's got a lot of insight, and you just got to sit down with him at coffee. It may take a little while to kind of talk, but he's, you get that relationship going. He's got lots of experience of what different vendors have done, so he's got lots of best practice things, but we look at, if all the partners in HTG, and we call them partners, right? They're just not, member groups, but the partners we have out there, how many of them are actually engaging with us? So we have kind of engagement metric around, okay, in each group, we want to have a certain number. We know we're not going to get everyone, but we want to get, 4, 6 members that we're really engaging with. And have you guys heard the book called Tipping Point? One person, good, okay. It's a good book, you guys should read it. That's the thing here, right? The more that you can actually get involved, not just one person, but a couple groups, you'll get that point with a tip. And I think you referenced that a while ago,
So any questions you have you'd like to ask our panel this morning? Burning issues? Ideas you'd like to bounce? Obviously, you guys did a great job. We do appreciate your support as sponsors, and I'll dismiss you guys to head back down to the audience. I say it over and over and over to our members, HTG does not exist without you, okay? Just plain out, that's the truth. We cannot run this program without your support. There is no way we would exist, there's no way we would be able to do the kinds of things we do today if you weren't supporting us and partnering with us to help drive growth in this industry. So we look at you as an integral part of what we're up to. We appreciate your efforts, your support. We're committed to helping you be successful, because I get that if there's not an ROI for you, this does not make sense. So we want to make sure that you get a return. That's Ken's job. And so let us help you do that. He's got a proven track record of being able to do that with folks. Some that started out and struggled, that he's been able to mold and shift and shape and get to the point they needed to be. So let us help you be successful, but thank you for being part of what we're up to. We really are going to drive business and personal growth amongst our membership. To that end, I want to just introduce briefly Tim Brewer, who is joining our organization as an ambassador. Stand up, Mr. Redhead. Tim comes to us from Australia, Perth, Australia. He's been part of an organization called Anatel, which is a roll-up of, was it 7 MSPs, 8 MSP, 12 MSPs, okay. In Australia, they've got an organization today that's 260 some people, I think, 50 some people, lots of people, 270 people, 60 million in revenue, okay. Tim's never been an HTG, because as a publicly traded corporation, they could not participate in our program with their financials and other things. And so he's kind of like hung around the fringes and been a friend of HTG for the last few years. And he's going to make a change in his career path. And part of that change is going to be he's going to become an ambassador for us, for our leadership group, which is our consulting team, and HTG to help us recruit and energize members and provide a lot of the valuable experiences he's had the last few years to our folks. So we're excited to be expanding our international presence. We have big visions for Australia. Those guys told me when I was over there last that they intend in the next few years to have more groups in Australia than we have in the US. And quite honestly, the way they tackle things and go after it, they just might get it done. So, you know, there's a lot of good things that are going to happen in HTG in the years ahead, and Tim's going to be a part of helping us develop that. He'll be available to work with vendors that want to leverage his experience, and so make sure you get connected with him, because he'll be an integral part of some of the things we'll be doing going forward. With that, I'll hand back to someone, Ken or Scott.
I just want to say again, thanks so much for being here. I'm here to help you succeed, give you ROI, track me down if you need me. Thanks again, really appreciate it.
Big enough for 10 plus me.